Hi, my name is Molly Hale, and this is my story. My story starts with the faithfulness of my mother. When I was 7 years old, she went on a Casas Cristo trip with Heart of the Springs Church. When she came back, she gave me and my sister a little bobblehead turtle that she had got from the market in Juarez. She had told me that the lady that she got it from hand-painted each turtle to be unique and special, and this was what she did for a job. I thought it was incredible. She also told me about the family that she had built a house for. She told me that the land that they were on was covered in trash, and she tried to clean it up, but she was building on a landfill, so that was nearly impossible. She told me about families living in pallet houses made of pallet boards and cardboard boxes to keep from the hazardous weather in Juarez. And after my mom explained all of this to me about her trip, I immediately wanted to go to Juarez and build another house. I knew that there were people in need, and God has really set my heart to help those who are in need. Unfortunately, Heart of the Springs at the time had a rule that you couldn't go unless you were 16, and so I had to wait. And that waiting period was not wasted. In 6th grade, I entered a program in school where I had to take a second language, and so I decided to take Spanish. I primarily chose Spanish because I wanted to be able to speak with the families that I'd one day build for. Then in 8th grade, I continually daydreamed about building with HOTS and leading that build, and so I took leadership classes to help aid in that dream that I had. I didn't realize that not everybody dreamed about leading the build, and that a lot of people would rather just go build and then leave. But that was not a dream that I had. Once I was 18, I remember packing my bags. I was so excited for this trip because it felt like everything in my life was coming to this moment. I knew my Spanish, I knew how to swing a hammer, I knew how to be a good leader, and so I was going to go on this trip and use all of my skills. And it was all good until 3 days before the trip when I sprained my ankle playing basketball. I had a choice that I had to make. Was I going to go on this trip and do my best with what I had, or was I just going to wait another year? Well, for those who know me, you all know I'm stubborn, and so I decided to go on the trip anyway. That entire week I did try to do what I could, but most of the time I was having a pity party for myself. I was wondering why I was there, why God had called me to go on this trip only for me to sprain my ankle, because clearly He knew that was going to happen, and just why I was there in general. I didn't feel helpful, and I didn't feel like I should be there until dedication day. During dedication of each Casas house, the sponsoring pastor presents the gospel. And after this pastor presented the gospel, he looked to me. I was on the ground with my crutches to the side. I was wearing one of Pastor Mike's shoes because my shoes couldn't fit on my foot. And I was just waiting for this week to be over. And he looked at me, and he thanked me for coming to Juarez. He told me that a lot of people overlook Juarez. It's a place that's hot and sandy, definitely not a vacation destination. Definitely not a place that people want to go because they just had a long period of violence. And so a lot of people were scared to go to Juarez. But he thanked me for coming, and especially because I was injured. He said that me being there was just an example of how much God loves His people and how much He is willing to overcome obstacles to show us His love. And I hope I never forget that lesson, because it showed that I just have to show up and be willing to be used in order for God to move. And so that first trip has forever changed my life, and after that I went on a few other builds, not with any sprained ankles, and it was great, and I wanted to keep doing more and more builds. So I applied for the internship in 2020, and from that's when everything started to shut down because of COVID, and people didn't think that I was going to be able to go on the internship, but Casas still opened its doors. It was still trying to be in operation, and part of the reason why I wanted to go this time, the push to go, is because I couldn't get out of my mind that if these people in these pallet houses, where they're exposed to weather and everything else in between, what would happen if they got sick? More than likely they would die, and I couldn't get that idea out of my head, and so I signed up for the internship and I went, and honestly it was an incredible experience. A lot of it was God showing me who He has equipped me to be and the talents that He has given me. I got to build alongside 7 other incredible women, and we built 10 houses that summer. And then after that summer, I just had this itch. I wanted to keep building more houses. And so I asked God, can I go again? Please, if it is your will, let me go again. And I felt like He was telling me to wait. And so during that period, I tried to stay as strong with my relationship with the Lord as I could. And I just felt like I was getting more angry at God because He asked me to wait on this dream that I've had that I wanted to pursue so badly. And I didn't know what He was doing in my life during that time. I didn't understand why I had to wait, and I didn't know how long I would wait. And so my faith kind of went up and down during that time. And like I said before, I was angry with God. And so I decided that I wanted to get back to the place where I could feel God the most, where I felt most connection to Him. And so I signed up for another internship, hoping to go to Juarez again, and that was not the plan that God had for me. I told God I will do this internship, but I will go anywhere but Acuna, Mexico, because Acuna is hot, it is very humid, and I just didn't want to go to a new location. I wanted to go exactly back to where I last had the best connection with God I've ever had. And God ended up sending me to Acuna, Mexico. And at first I was really upset. I wanted to quit. I didn't want to go do another internship if I was going to go to Acuna. And it came to this point where I felt like God was telling me, are you going to obey me or not? And obviously I chose to obey, because why would I not? No, I'm kidding. But so I packed my bags and I went to Acuna, Mexico, not knowing what I was going to experience, only knowing that it was going to be hot and that I was probably going to be miserable. But the opposite happened. Yes, I was hot. Yes, it was humid. But during that entire time, God showed me how much He loves me and how much He loves His creation. I got to experience true miracles, and I got to build for people who were in the most need that I've ever seen. People who lived in pallet houses made of pallets and playground equipment and cardboard boxes, just like my mom had explained to me when I was 7. I got to see people who were struggling with family members dying of cancer, and people who just needed more space for their growing families. I got to experience 40 young children exclaiming that Jesus is Lord, and I got to make so many friends along the way. Halfway through that internship, I really began to question if this was something God wanted me to do for a longer term. So I ended up asking a bunch of the Casas staff, like, what could I do? What is my next step? Could I go on staff? Is there another option for me to do this longer term? And they said, well, if you're not quite sure what you want to do, why don't you try a residency? It's a year-long commitment, and then after that you can make a decision. And so I have decided to sign up for the residency after I graduate from college in December. Currently I am in a fundraising period. I am looking for faithful supporters, because just like much of our Christian walk, God doesn't want me to do this alone. And so I'm currently seeking to raise $2,800 a month in financial support, and so I'm looking for monthly supporters and one-time donors. I'm also asking for people to pray for me during this time, because the devil doesn't like the kind of work that we're doing at Casas, and doesn't like it when hope and joy and peace and everything is displayed when a Casas house gets built. And so I am hoping and I'm praying that you all have heard my message, that you have found some kind of inspiration from it, and I hope that you can see God working as clearly in your life as I can see Him working in mine. Thank you.